Guys. Guys, Cindy McGill has been a good friend of mine for a long, long time. And she was a hero of mine for a long time before I ever actually met her. The first time I met her, I was actually nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, this is the Cindy McGill. Cindy McGill is a prophetic evangelist, and how she does prophetic evangelism was really groundbreaking for all the body of Jesus whenever she first started doing this. And then, a lot of other people have picked up the torch since then. But dude, nobody's better. And I've actually been out doing prophetic evangelism with her, and it's incredible. Now, she also is world famous for reaching out to people that nobody in the world wants to reach out to. She's one of my great heroes because she's so brave. Now, she has actually gone to pornography conventions and all over the world. The Burning Man convention, she goes to those things, and she does those things, and then she does prophetic evangelism and reaches out to people and tells them that Jesus loves them and brings them in. She's the author of Words That Work. She's also somebody, which by the way, I wrote the foreword to on that. It's probably the best part of that book. It's probably the foreword that I wrote on it. I don't know, but actually it's a great book. I have read it over and over and over again. And then she also has a dream journal. She's one of the greatest dream interpreters of anybody I've ever met in my life, and she's joining us here today for Pulse 24, guys. This is Miss Cindy McGill. Hey, Cindy.
Hi. That is a hard act to follow.
Hey, man, you actually did let me write the foreword to your book, and you know a lot better people than me, and I don't know why you trusted me with that. But you did. I was so honored. And honestly, I worked hard on it. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like nervous about writing the foreword for your book.
That was funny because the first few pages I was like, where's my book? Please forward.
I might have.
Yeah, it was great. I'm glad that you got to do it because I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's such a good book.
It was an interesting book to put together. It's kind of a purge of all the things that we saw God do in places where the church hasn't been. So I thought it's time to unleash it and let it float out into the body and let people pick it up. And people have been using the strategies and different things that God showed us, and they're effective. They're working. Words that work, they work.
So where can people get your book? Is it at cindymcgill.com?
It's no, it's cindymcgill.org. Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of a private joke between us. Yeah. And so do
not go to cindymcgill.com.
When you fight pornography the way that Cindy fights it, and when you fight it the way that we fight it, there are people that do heinous things. And I gotta share with you some. Whenever we go behind the veil, we can talk about stuff that we can't talk about on all these other platforms. I want to just tell you, I've got some new things. I've got a new thing I want to tell you that we got in the mail here 2 weeks ago. That's going to blow your mind.
You'll love it.
And the pictures that we get, and the nice things that that they send to us is absolutely amazing. So I know that you know all about that as well.
Do you want me to grab a picture of that and?
No, it's okay. We'll talk about it once we get behind the veil. But I thank you, Ben. That's been so anxious to show it to everybody. And I'm like, nope.
Just a reminder, guys, we will be going behind the veil here shortly, which means we'll be coming off of all social media and platforms and just going to ODX. So if you're not already a tier 2 or tier 3 member of ODX, be sure to go over there and do that real quick so you don't miss out on this, because it's going to be awesome.
And we're also going to have we're actually going to interpret some of your dreams. So if you're somebody that wants a dream interpreted, you're going to have to join us on ODX after this is over with. And if you're not signed up yet, go there and do that. So, Cindy, how we start off every one of these with our guests looks like this. What's some of the ways, your favorite ways that God speaks to you? So let me ask you that question first. How does God speak to you?
Oh, my goodness. Many ways. Mostly I'll probably be minding my own business, and then something will enter into my heart and my head. I'll just have a thought. And you would think that because I pay so much attention and I like to interpret dreams and I have dreams, that's not my number one way that God talks to me. It'll be an impression. I'll just get it. It's almost like I catch it,
Yep.
in the air, and God's and I'll feel like it's a bit of a, search this out or something. It'll be a thought that enters into my mind. And sure enough, it takes me right into where God's wanting to talk to me, and He wants to show me some things, and He'll take me over to the Word and show me some things, or Scripture will pop into my mind. So that's the number one
That's
way.
good.
It's very interesting, and I think I've just learned, having kind of I pulled away, from a lot of just hopping from conference to conference and doing this and listening to that
Mm-hmm.
person, this person, and all that. And because I felt like God wanted to show me some things that were like personal, like just don't be hopping from one place to another. Just close everything off and just listen to me. And when I did that, that's where I got the instruction for what He wants to do, how He wants it to go down, like at places like Burning Man. I mean, God would give us strategies in the moment, just right there, how He wants us to communicate with people that would never listen. They would never come. They would never turn on any kind of Christian program. They would never listen to
Yes.
a sermon. They'd never go to church. They wouldn't go any. They're just broken, church hurt, God hardened, whatever. So I had to listen to what He wanted to do, and it was interesting because there were so many times when I'm on a trail. I feel like I'm on a trail of something. Like I'm determined. I've got an idea. I'm going to go with it. And all this. And then it was a pivot. It
Yes.
was like turn.
Yep. Got it.
Yeah. And so that was new for me because usually you're like, well, you got a team with you, so you can't just be you know pivoting here and going there and trying to keep them up with you. So
I remember
but
when I went out with you, and it was on a New Year's. I don't remember what year it was, but it's around 2020. Was it?
mhm.
Yeah, when we were in downtown Fort Worth, and Josh Weathers was playing in downtown Fort Worth, and so you had a team out there, and you let me join your team. I know that just being around you, I got wildly prophetic just in being around you. And I've noticed that about certain prophetic people in my life, that the spirit of prophecy begins to move when you're around them. And I was with you, and I was watching the creative ways that you were using to get God to speak to people. And, you had things like, hey, pick a prize or whatever, and there'd be something in it. And then you would start talking to them about, hey, have you been having a dream? Is there a dream that you've been having? And you tell me, because I like to interpret dreams. And while we were doing that, God was telling me, because this is one of the ways I hear God speak, is I was like, hey, have you been seeing the number so-and-so over and over again? And they're like, yes, I have. And then we did that several different times on that night that you and I were together. And I was like, that is a neat thing, that the prophetic in my life was amplified by being around a group of people that was engaged in prophecy. How does that work?
It's like yeast.
Mm,
Get around other people, and you start it kind of takes on a whole
yep.
new dimension, and two, it's unity. And so God commands His blessing, and so there's this synergetic thing that begins to happen when we get around other prophetic people, and it'll just escalate. It's wonderful. I can actually hear their dream or know what their dream was before I talk to them.
Okay. Listen, I got to ask you this, okay, because I know that about you, that you know what the dream is many times before you even talk to him. Okay, can I ask you this, just a real practical place? Where does that show up at in your heart, in your spirit, in your mind? Because a lot of times when God gives me those kinds of words, it shows up in the memory part of my brain. Like somebody told me that a long time ago, or like I'm remembering, but nobody's ever told me that before. Where does that show up for you, and how does that work?
It shows up for me, and I'll start I'm visual, so I'm a
Mm,
seer, and I'll start seeing something like in my mind. It'll be like a movie kind of going off, and I'll go, oh my gosh, it's a dream about, they had a dream about their teeth falling out or flying or falling or whatever thing. And sometimes they're very specific, and I'll know the night that they had it or when they had it last. And then God will tell me why they had it and why I'm going to talk to them. And
wow.
so that's kind of where it goes. Because, for the longest time when we did dreams at the Sundance Film Festival, I mean, we started back in the early 2000s. I mean, and we would go and interpret dreams. I had as many as 50 dream interpreters on the street.
Wow.
during the whole festival. And I mean, it was cold. And we were like, when we did Burning Man, we were like, we're either doing Freezing Man or Burning Man, you know, because Burning Man's hot. So I had about 50 dream interpreters on the streets. I mean, every year for 7 or 8 years, maybe 10 years. And so I knew that it wasn't a microwave type of a gift. It was something, interpretation of dreams. You have to learn how to shove everything out of your head and you have to listen to what they're saying. So
Okay.
you're dreaming the dream with them.
Okay.
And
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, that's when they became real important to me and I could visualize. I can remember someone's dream that they told me that they might have forgotten like 2 or 3 years later because
Wow.
I visualized it. So it's an imprint on my mind, on my heart and spirit, just like they told it to me. And if it's someone that I know and 2 years ago or three, they told me a dream, I can remember the dream. Now I can find out where they are in the process of that
I
dream
see.
being.
Yep. Okay, so look, we just have a few minutes left before we go behind the veil and go strictly to ODX. And we're going to talk about controversial stuff. We're going to talk about stuff that might otherwise get us censored, right? And we don't want to do that. So, but what are you hearing God speak for this year? What's on your heart about King Jesus and how we walk with King Jesus for this year? What does that look like for you?
Well, the first thing is Philippians 4:6 and 7. Be anxious for nothing.
So good.
We're going to have to calm down and we're going to have to let him instruct and tell us in the way we've never been this way before. It's a new way. We've never walked this way before. And Moses is dead, so
Yes.
Moses is dead. So we're going to have to start finding out, how do we navigate new territory? How do we move forward in this time? And the main thing is just to maintain your peace
That's good.
and make sure that you are not anxious for anything, but be in prayer. And also to let go of certain things. We need to release things that have been bogging us down or crippling us or complicating our lives, or things that have been puzzles to us and we haven't been able to solve them. If you're not assigned to do something about the problem, you're not the one who's going to answer it. You're not the one who's going to do it. So you're just winding up and going round and round and round a racetrack. It's like, let it go.
So good.
Because God obviously has someone else or something else he wants to do. I know this is true with family matters,
Yes.
Let it go. You're not going to be the one to reach your kid anyway. Someone else is going to reach them. And then the other one was First Corinthians 15:57. Thanks be unto God who always gives to us the victory.
Yes.
So we're going to go through some difficult times. We're going to go through some troubled times. We're going to go through some times that's going to make us stop and go, what the heck? Like, what's going on? And then, but if we're not anxious and we just calm down, God's going to give us the victory. And he's been talking to me about, he's going to teach us how to navigate turbulent times or times that we've never been in. He's going to teach us how to outwit the devil and give us the strategies, because God already knows what he's going to do. He already knows what Satan's going to do. He already knows what his plan is and what his, rabbit out of the hat, so to speak, and whatever kind of foolishness he's going to bring up. And he's going to give answers to us ahead of time about how to place ourselves or put ourselves or where to position ourselves, because he already knows how he's going to give us the victory.
So good. Yeah. Simple solutions to complicated issues, which was a prophetic dream that I had some time back at the beginning of the year. I always fast the first 10 days of the year like I am right now, and I was seeking the Lord. I had this dream of a big ball of yarn, and it was a mess, and just seeing it, I just got anxious, and I was like, I'm setting it on fire. And I went to set it on fire, and there was one little thread. I pulled it and yanked it, and it rolled out in a perfect straight line. And I heard a voice say, simple solutions to complicated issues. And that has been a theme of my life, to just bring this thing that you're talking about right now. No, that's going to be big this year. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and it'll keep us on course.
Okay.
Keep us from pulling our hair out or quitting or giving up
That's
or just
good.
sitting back and doing nothing. That's the main thing. It'll water us down if we just get all anxious and we think, there's just no answer to this, or things aren't happening in the time frame that I want them to, right?
Yes.
And He's got a perfect time.
So
And
good.
and I did this whole podcast the other day on we just need a bigger God. If any problem is bigger than the God we serve, we need a bigger God.
That's so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, on Saturday, you're going to be joining me at 12 o'clock. And for all of our third stage viewers, we're going to do a dream interpretation, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what you said.
And we're going to do that exclusive for all of our third stage people. Now, everybody that's on our second and third stage, if you're stage 2 or stage 3 partners at odx.tv, guys, you're going to be able to go behind the veil with us as we continue this conversation for a while. And right now, we're about to go off of all of our platforms. And so we're about to go off all of our platforms, and then we're going to have a much deeper conversation about extraordinary things. And friends, I encourage you guys to come over and join us. Come over and join us at odx.tv. And if you have any issues or if you don't know how to do that, simply call us. Call 877-413-0888. And I want to remind everybody that tonight I'm going to be preaching an atomic Bible study on John chapter 1 at Open Door Church, and it will be shared across all of our platforms. And so be looking for my atomic Bible study series. And Cindy, I'm going to join you here in just a second over at odx.tv. And Ben, you have
And
anything?
for all of our ODX guys, we're going to throw up a really cool Pulse 24 graphic. Do not go away. We haven't left yet. We're just going to throw it up for a few seconds so we can make the transition.
That's good.
And then we'll be right back.
Okay. Connie, you have anything you want to tell everybody before we go?
No, you did really good. You reminded everyone that you're going to be doing the Word and the Witness tonight for your Atomic Bible study. And then Sunday, you're also going to be preaching. Yep. That's going to be on From the Valley to the Mountain.
And you know what? I did a huge study on 24 last night, and because I'm saying that it's a year of moving from Psalms 23 into Psalms 24. And it is so important for us to do that. But the questions that are in there, who is the King of Glory and who can ascend? A big part of my sermon on Sunday is going to be about learning to ask the right questions and don't mess around with the wrong questions.
That's
right?
awesome.
And so that's going to be a big part of this coming Sunday as well. Okay, so Cindy, just hang tough, all right? We're going to go to a graphic, and then we're going to disconnect with all of our social media feeds. And guys, thank y'all so much for joining us today. I call you the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, and highly favored of the Lord. Bye-bye, everybody.